So we have a very exciting collaboration with Lego and D&D.
Yes.
Two very iconic things in the world. And we have an adventure tied to that, to our D&D Lego set. So can you tell me about this adventure?
Absolutely. So Red Dragon's Tale, I should say, is a fun, light-hearted adventure where you've got this beautiful Lego diorama that you build in pieces as you play. And each piece that you build then kind of triggers a scenario or a scene which you play out. And then once that scene is resolved, you together as a group build the next piece of it and then play out the scene that takes place within that piece. And encountering or exploring rather all the little interior spaces, all the little accoutrements that are sort of scattered around, magic items and secret rooms and other little puzzle elements that you can look at. And then of course, the monsters, you build those as well. And when your characters meet the monsters, the adventure tells you how those encounters play out.
You've been playing with Lego before even D&D. Was this literally
Yes.
the building blocks of you moving towards becoming a D&D designer?
I think so. Yes, so D&D is my favorite game and Lego is my favorite toy. And I started playing Lego really, really, really young. And I have amassed quite a collection. Like D&D, I'll never fall out of love with Lego. So this is the first time in my life, though, where I've gotten to bring these two passions together in one project. And my role primarily was to be the writer of the adventure with my colleague, Kyle Brink, kind of shepherding the project in a leadership way, giving me sort of the beats of the story and just kind of setting me loose. I had a really detailed outline that he gave me, and I just sort of fleshed out all the encounters and made sure that all the story beats that he wanted were captured.
The interesting thing from an adventure design perspective on this one was, this is a Lego set, so it is a thing.
Yeah.
And the entire adventure is contained within that thing, which means this is an adventure that takes place in a single location. If this were a TV show, they would call it a bottle show. It just happens on that one spot, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on because we had a lot that we wanted to do, and there was a lot that Lego wanted to do. It comes from, the Lego Ideas series comes from fan-submitted ideas that they then deliver on. And so this was one of those, and there was a lot in it. And so from an adventure perspective, we've got, the tavern that you begin every adventure in is here, but so is the dragon at the end. It's all there in the same location. How and why is the fun part of designing the adventure.
Because we play with terrain and minis and all of that.
Yeah.
But this is all in one.
Yeah.
That's a rare thing. You have the adventure. We have your PCs, your figurines for them, your miniatures, and you have this entire location. So you've got all the terrain.
Yeah.
It's an all-in-one experience.
Yeah.
That's so charming.
Yeah, I'm encouraged now to go buy a bunch of minifigures and use them for my miniatures in my home game because that's super fun. Not only is it all in one place, you build it as you go. So when you have the set, each encounter in this adventure, you build it and you look at it and you play it. And there are visual cues in what you build that are relevant to the adventure because we were working very tightly with the Lego team on this. And so if you see an image on a wall or you see an object in a corner, it's there for a reason. Everything in that set is relevant to this adventure. And so just like when your DM describes a particular thing or when you look at something they've put on the battle mat, you're like, wait, what's that over there? That is true of this entire set. So as you're building it, as you're snapping the pieces together, you go, wait a minute, I'm getting a clue here. Maybe I should ask about this.
I recently got to take a look at the set and very in-depth detail. There is a stunning amount of detail. There's a D&D level of detail. If you see something in this Lego set, you should pay attention to it in this adventure. There's a tie-in.
Yeah, and because you're building it, you're looking very closely at each piece. Unlike when your DM might put your figure on a battle mat or might set up some, walls or other set pieces, you are actually building it. So as you're snapping it together, you go, wait, why am I putting this in this room?
Yeah.
I have some questions.
Yeah. That's like the best investigation check is like building this Lego set. You're constantly rolling for investigation. Probably with advantage because you do have to pay attention to every single piece. What do you think people are going to like about? I think this is a very broad question.
Sure.
What do you think is the most likable thing about this?
I mean, I will say this adventure has its own special sauce. It is suffused throughout with love of the game, humor, light touch, It's specifically a kind of story and adventure that, similar to Wild Beyond the Witchlight in a way, it can be understood and played by many generations of players. You can play with your kids, you can play with your friends, you can play it, and it has just such a sense of fun to it because we have packed so much improbably into a single place that there's already a certain level of improbability about the whole thing, which is fine. That's what D&D is. It's fantasy. We're doing stuff that can't happen. And so this set is just full of that kind of ridiculousness and joy and fun and discovery.
What is notable is that this is very accessible for your first time playing D&D, and I still think it's very fun if you've been playing D&D for years.
Yeah, I find the adventure charming because you're building the environment as you play.
Yeah.
And everybody at the table is contributing to that process, and that's kind of novel and fun. You know, the group has to work together on two levels, not just accomplishing the objectives of the adventure, but also putting the pieces together right. But the other charming thing about it is it's really leaning into some kind of very classic D&D tropes and some very cuddly creatures in D&D, like the Displacer Beast, like the Owl Bear. These are favorites. These are fan favorites, and people are very warm toward these creatures. And when you're writing a scenario, you want to bring these creatures to life. And I think that in a short amount of space that we've created lots of fun moments that could happen.
We're already talked about the monsters, but there's also characters that you can play in this.
Correct. Yes. So among the figures are all the sort of iconic options. Your cleric has little clerical items that they can wear or hold, and your dragonborn has the dragon heads, and some of the characters have face options so that you can kind of customize the look of your character so much. And of course, as you find props and things, other elements within the adventure, you can attach those to your character as well and use those in play.
Some well-known magical items.
Exactly. A number of magical items make an appearance, including some pretty hefty ones in terms of D&D lore, like there's an Orb of Dragonkind in the adventure that you can find, which, given there's a big giant red dragon in the scenario, probably might come in handy.
And of course, you can play this adventure separately or build the Lego set separately. You don't have to do both, though I will tend towards building as I play, certainly, but you can do either of those things.
Exactly. You can get the adventure can be downloaded from our site, it can be downloaded from the Lego site, and there's nothing stopping you from having a good time, and you will, because Lego is super fun, and D&D is super fun, and two super fun things are super, super fun.
That is how that math works.
No, I'm super thrilled and honored to have had this opportunity. You know, it's yet another thing that I get to work on that bring people joy, and for these two great things to come together in this way is a dream come true.
Well, what's been fun about meeting the Lego people is how many we at D&D are big, massive Lego fans, and how many of them turned out to be massive D&D fans. So it's this weird Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man fan thing happening. We're like, oh, what you do is cool. Like, no, what you do is cool. Experience. So that's one of my favorite things about this particular project. We do have a lot of iconic elements of D&D. So if you were looking for like a very distilled D&D adventure, this is it. I mean, like you say, there's a red dragon. You know, spoilers. It's in the title. There's a tavern where you all meet up, and like it has all those kind of iconic monsters and characters.
Yeah, I will say that one of the great things about working with the Lego team, and this happens with a lot of teams we work with, is there's a lot of D&D love in the world. And especially when you get to creative industries and creative teams like the Lego team, they're just chomping at the bit to do everything they can for it. There's sometimes you do something because you have to, and there's sometimes you do something because you want to. And it was very clear the Lego team very much wanted to do this. And so they're putting in extra effort and extra love all the way on this. You know, to your point about we love what they do, they love what we do, it was very easy to talk with each other about this as a result.
Yeah, and it's been a fantastic experience.
I think one of the other fun things about this is it was created in a way that you can play through it any way you want. Similar to how a proper D&D game should go. It's not set up so you have to fight and kill everything. It's not set up so you have to talk your way through everything. There's lots to explore, lots to do, lots to experience, and you can get from the beginning to the end on your charm alone if you decide.
Yeah.
Or on your ridiculous puzzle solving if you decide.
There's enough room to for it to be D&D, where all your best plans as a dungeon master may fall apart.
That's right.
And the players are going to want to do what they want to do.
That's right. And we saw that in the playthrough as well when we were working on it and developing it, that people would take unusual approaches to things.
I didn't know that you grew up with Lego so much.
Yes.
We've never talked about it. I feel like you do this once a month. You have a lore drop about yourself once a year, really. Like you only
Ration them out. Yeah.
You give me a lore drop once a year. Like, did you know I once overthrew a country?
Yes. Well, we'll get to that. It was a small country, but my parents called me last year saying they were cleaning out stuff in the attic and they'd found 2 suitcases, big giant honking suitcases full of my old Lego, and wanted to know if I wanted them back, or if I could, if they'd be okay with me allowing my nephews to take them. And I said, nephews can have them.
It's adorable.
I just don't have the space. My London Tower Lego set is on full display, however.
I'm very excited for the London Tower set. I got to go to the Tower of London.
And I get the best thing I get in the mail, like ever these days, amid the bills and the coupons and the paraphernalia that we all get, is the little Lego catalog that comes every once in a while. It tells me all the new sets. Yeah, I sit down with that immediately.
Oh my God.
And I'm like 100 years old.